Hello and welcome to Vlogmas Day 20. Today I thought I could go over some of my favorite books from this year. I read 30 or 31 books this year. I haven't looked at my Goodreads, but I know it's right around there. And I have chosen 12 books to talk about. They're all 5 or 4 stars. While I didn't read as much as I wanted to this year, I did read some pretty good books. A lot of these, though, I have to admit, are a little bit forgettable, so we'll have to see when we get there. But I'm going to talk about the 5 stars first, and then we'll jump into the 4 stars. The first, we have Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. This is not the most original, not the most well-written, not like the life-changing book that I wish I could tell you it is, but I gave it 5 stars because I had such a fun time with this book. This follows our main character Violet as she is joining the Dragon Riders Quadrant. She has trained her whole life to be an archivist and kind of work with the books and everything, but on the day that she's supposed to graduate into that program, she decides to go against everyone's wishes for her and become a dragon rider, like her sister and I believe her brother as well. This is just such a fun coming of age, like coming into yourself, young adult, not young adult, it's more new adult book, but I had a lot of fun with it, and if you haven't heard of it, there you go, that's kind of the synopsis. Next I have Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. This is one of the prequels to the Hunger Games series, which I also gave the Hunger Games 5 stars. It's not in this video because I've talked about it enough, but just know that I reread that this year and it has held up. But Sunrise on the Reaping came out this year, and this is Haymitch's story. In the original Hunger Games trilogy, we get Katniss Everdeen, and she is put into the Hunger Games, and her mentor to lead her through this killing games is Haymitch. And we kind of get a taste of Haymitch's games in Catching Fire, the second book in the series, but everyone has always been so curious about him and his past and what has led him to be the drunk that we know him as. And Sunrise on the Reaping delivered, let me tell you that. So yeah, I loved it a lot, and that is just Haymitch's story. So if you wanted to read the Hunger Games, I would personally recommend, I mean, I guess you can read them any order, but I liked that I had read the original trilogy first, because reading Sunrise on the Reaping just had so many moments where I was like mind blown of like, oh my gosh, that connects to that, that connects to that. This is why this character acts this way. This is why this character acts this way. Like, it was just so satisfying. So I recommend that order of reading, but you can read them any other way because it is technically a prequel. Next I have Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey. I know, I had to talk about my girl, y'all. I had to talk about her. Wild Dark Shore follows a family as they are protecting a seed bank, and one day, a seed bank is basically like if the world was wiped out agriculturally, the seed bank protects seeds so that we could pull them and replant and repopulate the plants on the earth, kind of thing. And it is a real thing. Charlotte McConaughey writes climate fiction, so it's the world affected by climate change, and this family lives on an isolated island. It's pretty much just them because the researchers that were there have since left. And one day a woman washes ashore, and she starts asking questions that nobody really wants to answer. And I'll leave it at that. But 5 stars, so fantastic, made me cry like a baby. Just so good. Next I have Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. This is another 5 star, and this follows our main characters as they are both trying to compete to be the new columnist at a newspaper, and there is this godly war happening in the background between 2 gods, and I believe the new book that Rebecca Ross just came out with does follow the gods of this book series, because I believe that it's a duology. I haven't read the second one, but I do own it. It's up there somewhere. But I was just so enthralled with this story and this world and these characters. I loved the love story. I loved the whole thing just enthralled me, and I highly would recommend it if you're into magical realism. Next, we are into the 4-star realm. Those are all my 5 stars for the entire year, by the way. We're not gonna talk about it. Next I have That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Human by Kimberly Lemming. I read 3 of the 4 or 2 of the 3 of this book. I can't remember how many there are. I think it was 3. So I read 2 of them this year. This I don't remember too much about. This is one of those more forgettable ones. It was on Kindle Unlimited. It was a very, very fast read, but I had a lot of fun with it. This series follows Cinnamon and her gang of friends as they are humans that get in touch with fae and demons and dragons, and they tend to get drunk and get themselves into situations that warrant them to be a little crazy. But this one, I believe, was kind of opposite. Like, the human was the one being saved and she was being held captive, like a princess kind of being held captive, and I believe it was a dragon that got drunk and saved her, but I can't remember. But I had a lot of fun with it. I gave it 4 stars. Next I have I Cheerfully Refuse by Leaf Enger, something like that. This is such a hard book to read. It was so emotional. But this follows our main character Rainy as something has happened to Rainy's wife at the beginning of the story, and Rainy goes on this big grand adventure to find his wife, and it's her spirit. And this book is really hard to read, but I flew through it. I listened to the audiobook and it was just so much to take in. This does deal with a lot of hard topics. For all these books, if you know you have trigger warnings, definitely look into them. But yes, that's pretty much all I'm going to say, because I don't want it to give away too much of what this book really is. But it is a man going on an adventure to find his lost wife. That's all I'll say. Next, I have The Summer of Broken Rules, which is the complete opposite. I don't know who this is by, but sorry, they'll all be on the screen. This follows our main character as she is invited back to this island that she grew up going to, and all her family are going to be there, all her family friends. Like, her family's huge and they're very close-knit, and they're all very quirky and have their own personalities and fun things about them. And she is invited back for a cousin's wedding, and her cousin, her sister has passed away. Not her cousin's sister, but her sister, our main character's sister, has passed away, and one of her favorite games was Assassin. Assassin is a game usually played, I don't know if it's played overseas, but in the United States it's played usually in your senior year of high school, where basically you get assigned a target and you have to shoot them with a water gun, and they are then killed and out of the game. And in this book, our main character is joining a game of Assassin with all of her family and friends, and she is slowly also falling in love for the first time. And it was just so fun. Like, this book just had all the summer vibes. They're staying in cabins, they're going out to the beach at night, it was just so much fun. I want to read this again next summer just because I loved it that much. It just was missing a little bit in the character development for me, which is why I talk so highly about it, but it's not a 5-star. Next, I have The Grip of It by Jack Dempsey, I believe. This is a horror novel, and it follows our couple that are newly married, and they buy this house that is super duper cheap. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, it's cheap for a reason, and that is because this house is haunted. And this is one of those like books that just like hurt my brain a little bit, because in this house there are rooms that come and go, and there's, you know, doors that lead to nowhere, and there's crawl spaces that exist and don't exist, and it was just so crazy. And there is kind of like a silly background story going on, like about the haunting, that kind of took away from this book for me, but it gets in your head. It's a psychological book. We literally get to read from the perspective of these characters, and we watch a page by page as they fall into the madness. It is such a fun read to get to witness that in characters, and I would highly recommend it if you think that sounds interesting. Next, I have Virgin Sacrifice. This is another fun book that I rated purely on vibes. I don't think it's necessarily like the best thing that's ever been written, but it follows our main character as she goes to this boarding school. Is it boarding school or college? I want to say it's college, but it's like a prestigious college, and she has these psychopaths that are a family, and they get obsessed with her. And that's all I'll say. It is a dark romance. It is a why choose dark romance. So that tells you all you need to know. So next, Charlotte McConaughey, once again, I have Migrations. I read this in October or November, I believe October, but this follows our main character as she is running from her past and she is trying to chase down, like I said, Charlotte McConaughey writes climate fiction. In this world, in this version of Earth, pretty much all wild animals are gone. Pretty much the only animals you see are in zoos or special containment facilities, and so our main character wants to watch these wild birds do one last migration before they go extinct. And this is just like a metaphor for so much more in her life, and we get to see her kind of go on this journey with these group of people. That's kind of like Charlotte McConaughey's thing, is like groups of people. Like in Wild Dark Shore, which I mentioned earlier, it's a family. In Migrations, it's a group of people. And in her other novel, Once There Were Wolves, it's another like scientific group of people. So I still really loved this book. I think I just wanted a little bit more from the ending, which is why it's a 4-star instead of a 5. And finally, I have Shark Heart. This follows our main character as she has just gotten married, and in her first year of marriage, in this version of the world, there are genetic mutations you can have that can make you turn into a wild animal. And in their first year of marriage, they discover, her and her husband discover that her husband has the trait to become a great white shark, which is very, very rare. And she decides to stay with him and love him through it and witness him changing and trying to adapt to him and trying to love him for as long as possible. And this book just was a really heavy hit, and especially if you're someone who has a chronic illness or knows someone who goes through something chronic or terminal, this book was really hard to read in that aspect. And then it's also broken up where you learn about her mother's life as well. And I really enjoyed this book as well, and I liked how it was paced, I liked how it was set. It was just missing that 5-star flair for me. So, all right, those were my top 12 books of 2025. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate every single one of you. Make sure to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if you haven't already. And I will talk to you tomorrow for day 21. All right, I'll see ya. Bye.